finish a quilt, I usually have an unveiling, and sometimes rather well-known quilters participate in the introduction of the quilt. In this case, it's Joe Cunningham, famous quilter. You can find him online. And he is discussing, in this little clip I'm going to put up here, for those of you who have been interested in this freehand quilting, this is a discussion of his freehand quilting. The quilt itself is what I call a leftover quilt. After 6 quilts, pieced quilts, I usually do a leftover quilt of this, whatever pieces have been left over from the preceding 6 quilts. That's what this quilt was. It was number 21, and they're the most difficult to make, although this one was just as difficult because of not having a pattern. Pattern makes life much easier.
To create a design, the quilting designs are a glory of the tradition of quilt making, is that you sew all these patches of fabric together.
Yes.
In one way or another, either in a strict geometric way or in a freehand way. And then you get to quilt it, and that is the stitches that hold the 3 layers together.
I see. Okay.
The quilting can be done in any way, and it can be done in a very elaborate, very precisely marked and beautiful design. You can have swags that go around the borders, and with these feathered, running feather things, with cables and individual motifs, and you could mark it in a very symmetrical way, which happens very often. But one of the glories of it is that, of the 19th century aesthetic, was that the quilting very often had nothing to do with the piecing. So that the quilting, as it is here, it's a foreign grid. It's a foreign realm. It just goes right completely again, goes right across.
Right.
In the modern interpretation of quilt making, the quilting is almost always subservient. If you're going to do a fancy design of any type, you almost always mark it on with a pencil or something.
I see.
So this, I encouraged Margaret to work freehand, knowing that and I just described it. I said, I want you to do, well, we talked about it, and I said, what I would like to see would be fans. They would sort of go from the similar cultural aesthetic as the Japanese faces with the fans.
Yes.
You see that motif often. So fans would go right across everything and just quilt them freehand without marking them, so that
they're not always the same distance apart. Sometimes they're closer together.
You can see when the person gets impatient and the lines get further apart, you know. Done, done, done. And when you're really enjoying it, they get closer together. It's true. So these arcs that are against the pattern are all quilted freehand, rather than, there's lots of ways to mark them, you know. There's lots of ways that you can mark them and keep them all symmetrical.
Oh.